Gloria Steinem began her career as a journalist, relegated as many women were to writing fluffy features. But in 1963, Steinem decided to take on Playboy, and that's when everything began to change. She tells the story in a new HBO documentary, Gloria in Her Own Words, premiering August 15th. Watch this clip.
I did this bunny assignment.
My name is Hugh Hefner, and I'm editor-publisher of Playboy magazine.
I worked as a Playboy bunny in order to write an expose of what the working conditions were.
I started with a personal investment of $600. In 8 years, I've built an empire worth $20 million.
It was being presented as a glamorous place. It was not the glamorous place that Hugh Hefner was trying to sell it as.
You were a bunny girl for a while, an undercover bunny girl.
Yeah. To write a story, I changed my name and went to. I thought I would get through, a few auditions and write about the auditions, but they were so desperate for people that it kept going on, and I ended up working off and on for about a month. I read all the ads, that you were supposed to get $300 a week, and it was this, wonderful job. I was hired, but I had to go through the training course, which is at your own expense.
Reverse. No, here we go. All right, fast. Okay, now real high carry. Whoop, there we go. Whoa!
It was horrible. There was nothing fun about it.
Gloria Steinem joins me now. Thank you for being with us.
No, thank you.
That clip, has it dogged you all your career, if you like, or were you the dogged investigative reporter?
Well, I thought I was the dogged investigative reporter, and I was really glad that the working conditions changed somewhat, and you no longer had to have an internal exam and a venereal disease test to be a waitress. Excuse me? That's what they were telling these, right? So, I'm glad basically about it, but it was a professional error of gigantic proportions because I was just beginning to be assigned serious pieces. And suddenly I was a bunny, and now, it's followed me all these years, and I am always confronted with a kind of moral dilemma. Should I stop people who introduce me as an ex-bunny and say, but I was doing it as a journalist? No, because I've kind of deserted those women who were having such a hard time, So I go through this, kind of indecision.
But it was sort of the launch of your activism, of your feminism, and we all know so much about what you were campaigning for, along with many, many women of that time. Fast forward now, so many years later, where are women in terms of not just economic opportunity, but let's say politics, since this is a political show?
Mm-hmm. Well, as you know, we're number 70 among the countries of the world in terms of representation of women in our national legislature. We have 17 senators, we have 17% of Congress. I mean, we seem to be in the
76 women in the House of Representatives.
Right. But, American exceptionalism, I think, conceals to women the fact, because we're always being told how lucky we are, that we are way, way down the list in political representation, in child care, health care, equal pay, by almost any measure, we're way down the list.
When will, do you think, in your lifetime, this ultimate glass ceiling be shattered? You remember Hillary Clinton talking about the 18 million cracks in the glass ceiling after the primaries. When will it shatter?
Well, I really thought it was too soon. I thought Hillary Clinton was an ideal candidate, but I didn't myself believe that she could win. I just think it's too soon.
But how can it be too soon? What do you mean by that?
Well,
or any woman for that matter.
I think because we are still raised far more by women than by men. We associate female power with childhood. And some people, especially men, feel regressed when the last time they saw a powerful woman, they were 8. So
was their mother.
Yes.
Well, let me ask you.
It's going to take quite a long time, but it will happen. It will definitely happen.
And what do you make of the fact that so many of the current crop of female rising stars are actually conservative women? People like Sarah Palin, people like Michele Bachmann, who's now a candidate for the president, Nikki Haley, the governor of South Carolina, and on and on.
Well, because we always had Phyllis Schlafly. This is not a new phenomenon. If you have a big political movement, you have people who look like you, who behave like them, you know, who sort of sell it out, more or less. Those women all are elected by some women, yes, but by an electorate, their votes come more from men than from women. Democratic women, you know, not because, it's just because of the issues.
But people will say, Gloria, are you saying that women feminists are okay if they're Democrats, and if they're Republicans, they're suspect?
No, the Republican Party used to be more feminist than the Democratic Party. It's that it has become so extremist and so taken over by people who used to be Democrats, a lot of them, like Jesse Helms and so on. So it now finds itself in a position of having in its platform issues which are not supported by a majority of women, indeed are opposed by most. So you know, as soon as Hillary Clinton won, so many votes, I said there's going to be a Republican female vice president, you know, because, you know, they don't seem to understand it's not about biology, that it's about issues.
And what about the struggle? I mean, I looked at the HBO documentary and I saw that encounter you had with Larry King on CNN, where a woman called in and said, "May Gloria Steinem rot in hell." Do you still find sort of a hostility to the principles, to the activism?
No, not really. I mean, it's very rare. I mean, you just have...
Were you shocked by that then?
Yes, I was surprised by that then, yeah. But then, of course, there was somebody sifting the calls to make sure they had a controversial call, you know, as I discovered later.
But you know, there are a lot of people who get through.
But no, I mean, the point is to be able to choose, to have the power to make a choice, right? And the reason that social justice movements win is because they support choice, not one point of view. The reason that the current Republican issues and so on, especially on reproductive freedom, lose is because they're forbidding one point of view. They're saying you have to behave like us.
Gloria Steinem, thank you very much for being with us. And her documentary, Gloria Steinem in Her Own Words, on HBO.